Hello, BookTube. It's March the 25th, and that is Read Tolkien Day. That is a day set aside by the Tolkien Society to read a little J.R.R. Tolkien. Why? Because March the 25th is the date on which Barad-dûr falls, on which the Dark Tower falls. And therefore it seems like a fitting time to read a bit of Tolkien. And I had completely spaced on that idea. I'd completely forgotten about it. But I was watching a BookTube channel called The Bookworm, who I believe is among the youngest of us and who is a huge Tolkien fan. His channel is also very close to 1,000 subscribers, if you catch my drift. But I saw on his channel today, he decided to read some Tolkien poetry. And that reminded me, oh, well, it's Read Tolkien Day. And where once upon a time I might have done Read Tolkien Day in silence, why not read to you? I love reading to you. I won't read poetry. But the Tolkien Society sets out a theme every year. If you want to use a theme, if you just don't want to read just whatever your favorite stuff in Tolkien is, if you want a theme, they set one out. And the theme this year, I think for pretty obvious reasons, is companionship and fellowship. The strength and the encouragement of banding together against evil forces. I think that makes perfect sense in 2025. And if you don't think that makes perfect sense in 2025, you should unsubscribe from this channel. But we'll make this a political rant. Instead, we can just indulge ourselves in reading Tolkien. So I thought I would do that for you. I've got the Return of the King here, and I want to read a few pages. Of course, I could read this all day long, except I'd be in trouble with the Tolkien estate. Then I would then not be doing what they want. I would be doing what they don't want. I would be breaking copyright. So we will read a bit from a chapter in the Return of the King section of the book called "The Last Debate," which is, in the bleakest, most hopeless way, definitely about fellowship. The action climax of the whole book has taken place, the Battle of Pelennor Fields. King Theoden has fallen, but so has the Witch King of Angmar. So has the leader of the Nazgul. Minas Tirith did not fall, which is a big deal. we lost King Theoden. We also lost Denethor, the steward of Gondor, who had been slowly driven mad by using one of the seeing stones, the stones of seeing, the Palantir. He'd had one in his possession for years and had been using it not only to vie his will against that of Sauron, the Dark Lord, but also to suss out what Sauron's plans are for making war on Middle-earth. And it was a near-run thing, but it worked, thanks to the confluence of a whole bunch of factors. The fall of the head of the Nazgul is because of an enchanted blade and the heroism of one young girl. Totally unforeseen that those things would be brought together at just the right moment, in just the right way to make that happen. There's those who dwell in the mountain. There's Aragorn, the true king of Gondor, showing up at the last minute with an army that no one could have anticipated he would have. In fact, ironically enough, the one thing that isn't telling in the Battle of Pelennor Fields is the one thing that was supposed to be telling, which is Gandalf himself. The White Wizard was sent back until his task is done. Stands to reason that a large part of that task was going to be facing off against the Witch King of Angmar, who you certainly could not have a victory for Gondor with the Witch King on the field. I think it's pretty clear from the text that Gandalf did mean to do that, but was forestalled saving Faramir. So he ends up not being on the battlefield. But now that it's all over, and the wounded are being seen to, and those who dwell in the mountain have been dismissed, they've been sent to rest at last, their oaths fulfilled. Now our heroes gather together for one last conference about what they should do. I want to read you just a bit of that for Read Tolkien Day. "My lords," said Gandalf, "listen to the words of the steward of Gondor before he died. You may triumph on the field of the Pelennor for a day, but against the power that has now arisen there is no victory. I do not bid you despair as he did, but to ponder the truth in these words. As when we hear those words, when Denethor says them, we think that he's out of his mind. Gandalf is reminding us that he might have been out of his mind, but his words are true. The stones of seeing do not lie, and not even the Lord of Barad-dûr can make them do so. He can, maybe, by his will, choose what things will be seen by weaker minds, or cause them to mistake the meaning of what they see. Nonetheless, it cannot be doubted that when Denethor saw great forces arrayed against him in Mordor, and more still being gathered, he saw that which truly is. Hardly has our strength sufficed to beat off the first great assault. The next will be greater. This war, then, is without final hope, as Denethor perceived. Victory cannot be achieved by arms, whether you sit here to endure siege after siege, or march out to be overwhelmed beyond the river. Because that's all it is. It's just a tiny little thing. It's just a tiny little space of ground and a river between Gondor, between Minas Tirith and Mordor. You have only the choice of evils, and prudence would counsel that you strengthen such strong places as you have, and there await the onslaught. For so shall the time before your end be made a little longer. Then you would have us retreat to Minas Tirith, or Dol Amroth, or to Dunharrow, and there sit like children on sandcastles when the tide is flowing, said Imrahil. Prince Imrahil, a major character that he doesn't really have an active part in Lord of the Rings. What a different book it would be if he had. That would be no new counsel, said Gandalf, who never misses a chance to twist the knife, even with his friends. That would be no new counsel, said Gandalf. Have you not done that and little more in all the days of Denethor? But no, I said this would be prudent. I do not counsel prudence. I said victory could not be achieved by arms. I still hope for victory, but not by arms. For into the midst of all these policies comes the Ring of Power, and the foundation of Barad-dûr, and the hope of Sauron. Concerning this thing, my lords, you now all know enough for the understanding of our plight, and of Sauron's. If he regains it, your valor is vain, and his victory will be swift and complete, so complete that none can foresee the end of it while this world lasts. If it is destroyed, then he will fall, and his fall will be so low that none can foresee his arising ever again. For he will lose the best part of his strength that was native to him in his beginning, and all that was made or begun with that power will crumble, and he will be maimed forever, becoming a mere spirit of malice that gnaws itself in the shadows, but cannot again regain or take shape, grow or take shape. And a great evil of this world will be removed. Okay. Along the logic of that, I don't doubt Gandalf for a minute. How he knows this, I have no idea. No one's ever put this to the test. But I don't doubt him for a minute. That if the ring is destroyed, then the greater part of Sauron's strength that was his in his beginning will go with it, and everything built with it will fall. Okay, but along that logic, that should mean that the 3 elven rings will continue, and that everything built with their strength will continue. But it doesn't, of course, mean that. But anyway, I bet you thought that just by me reading a small excerpt, I would not interpolate Steve editorial comment. I bet you thought you'd be free of that. No. Other evils there are that may come, for Sauron is himself but a servant or emissary. Yet it is not our part to master all the tides of the world, but to do what is in us for the succor of those years wherein we are set, uprooting the evil in the fields that we know, so that those who live after may have clean earth to till. What weather they shall have is not ours to rule. Now Sauron knows all this, and he knows that this precious thing which he has lost has been found again, but he does not yet know where it is, or so we hope. And therefore he is now in great doubt, for if we have found this thing, there are some among us with strength enough to wield it. That too he knows. For do I not guess rightly, Aragorn, that you have shown yourself to him in the stone of Orthanc? You know, what Gandalf is saying here is that when he mentions that some of us have the strength to use it, is that you don't just gain all the power of the One Ring by simply putting it on. You need, as we've been told already, you need an enormous amount of power on your own to do it, to use it. God only knows what it would be like if Gandalf wielded the One Ring, but also Prince Imrahil is here, and Aragorn himself. I did so ere I rode from the Hornburg, answered Aragorn. I deemed that the time was ripe, and that the stone had come to me for just such a purpose. It was then 10 days since the ring bearer went east from Rhoros, and the eye of Sauron, I thought, should be drawn out from his own land. Too seldom has he been challenged since he returned to his tower. Though if I had foreseen how swift would be his onslaught in answer, maybe I should not have dared to show myself. Bare time was given to me to come to your aid. But how is this? Asked Eomer. All is vain, you say, if he has the ring. Why should you not think it vain to assail us if we have it? He is not yet sure, said Gandalf, and he has not yet built up his power by waiting until his enemies are secure, as we have done. He can't stop twisting the knife. He's been arguing with people, urging them for all these centuries, and no one's been listening to him. Also, we could not learn how to wield the full power all in a day. Indeed, it can be used only by one master alone, not by many. He will look for a time of strife ere one of the great among us makes himself master and puts down the others. In that time, the ring might aid him, if he were sudden. He is watching. He sees much and hears much. His Nazgul are still abroad. They have passed over this field ere sunrise, though few of the weary and sleeping were aware of them. He studies the signs, the sword that robbed him of his treasure remade, the winds of fortune turning in our favor, the defeat unlooked for of his first assault, the fall of his great captain. His doubt will be growing, even as we speak here. His eye is now straining towards us, blind almost to all else that is moving. So must we keep it. Therein lies all our hope. This then is my counsel. We have not the ring. In wisdom or great folly it has been sent away to be destroyed, lest it destroy us. Without it we cannot by force defeat his force. But we must at all costs keep his eye from his true peril. We cannot achieve victory by arms, but by arms we can give the ring-bearer his only chance, frail though it may be. You can just imagine, some of the people at this last debate are only now realizing what Gandalf is proposing. As Aragorn has begun, so must we go on. We must push Sauron to his last throw. We must call out his hidden strength so that he shall empty his land. We must march out to meet him as once. We must make ourselves the bait, though his jaws should close upon us. He will take that bait, in hope or in greed, for he will think that in such rashness he sees the pride of a new ring-lord. And he will say, so, he pushes out his neck too soon and too far. Let him come on, and behold, I will have him in a trap from which he shall not escape. There I will crush him, and what he has taken in his insolence shall be mine again forever. We must walk open-eyed into that trap, with courage, but small hope for ourselves. For, my lords, it may well prove that we ourselves shall perish utterly in the black battle far from the living lands, so that even if Barad-dûr be thrown down, we shall not live to see a new age. But this, I deem, is our duty, and better so to perish none the less, as we surely shall if we sit here, and to know that as we die that no new age will be. He puts it to them. What are you going to do? That is my counsel, that we do the unthinkable. Having only barely survived this assault on Minas Tirith, I propose that we gather what forces we have and march towards Mordor, which is suicide. And do it specifically to stop Sauron from seeing what, if he sees, he can prevent. It is said earlier in the book that if Sauron had merely concentrated all of his power and forces on closing Mordor as tight as a drum, then their cause would have been hopeless. There would have been no way to get the ring to the fires of Mount Doom. But he didn't do that. And he isn't doing it now. And Gandalf's plan is, let's make sure that he isn't. Let's do the most that we can. He is off-center now. He thinks he knows where the ring is, but he's not sure. And if he's off-center, if he's uncertain, he may be more cautious. And that's the one thing we can't afford. It's a wonderful moment. And, of course, all eyes look to Aragorn. Gandalf may be the wizard here, but Aragorn is the one who is the leader. He is the king. And he agrees that he will go on, and they all agree to follow him. So that is my my little tribute to Bleak Fellowship. Is the last debate on Read Tolkien Day. Glad that I got the reminder from the Bookworm, and I'm curious to know how many. I mean, once you see his channel, you will see the Bookworm is a Tolkien fanatic. Tons and tons. It is just a little filming area, a little cubby hole with shelves of books behind him, and so many of the books on those shelves are Tolkien. So many wonderful editions. And it makes me wonder how many of you will see that shelf and nod, how many of you didn't need any reminding that today is Read Tolkien Day. And if you decide to put a little Tolkien in your reading diet today, what are you going to do? The Bookworm went to poetry. I imagine a lot of Tolkien fans will do that today. They will realize, okay, today is Read Tolkien Day. I'm actually reading other books at the moment. I am not involved in a Tolkien read-along or reread at the moment, but I do want to read some Tolkien, and the poetry lends itself to that, so I'll do that. Is that something that you would do, or where would you go first? Of course, you'll all know, any of you who've been watching this channel for any length of time will know, that the last debate is not my go-to place. The go-to thing that I would read on Read Tolkien Day would be the Council of Elrond, which I love. It's a chapter in a book that I love more than almost any other chapter in almost any other book. But I didn't do that for today just for variety's sake. But what will you read? Will a lot of you go to in the House of Tom Bombadil? Just curious to know. Let me know. But anyway, read Tolkien, and I'll be back. Thank you, BookTube.